my name is Inger. Today we will be making a green pepper jelly. The inspiration for my video today is because it is spring in the Pacific Northwest and I've already started planning for this year's summer garden. What you can see here is a 4-week-old seedling, and this is a poblano pepper, and it kind of gets me excited to think about what the summer harvest would look like this year. If it's anything like last year, I had so many extra vegetables, I gave them to all my friends and family. But as I was pulling out the garden, I ended up with 10 pounds of extra jalapenos. And I thought, well, let's try to find a recipe that I can use some of those extra peppers. So last year, what I did with my peppers is I did a dehydration of the peppers, and it ended up making a nice jalapeno powder that you can add to recipes. And then I also made a tomato and chili salsa. But I thought, let's try some jellies and see how that turns out. So let's get started. The recipe I'll be using today is from So Easy to Preserve, and this recipe calls for about 4 bell peppers as well as 4 to 5 jalapeno peppers. So let's go ahead and get started chopping these. Now that the peppers are chopped, we're going to go ahead and put them in the blender and add a cup of white vinegar, and we're supposed to liquefy it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in here. This looks pretty liquefied. Give it a quick look. So the next step is to take it over to the stove, boil it for 10 minutes, and then add the sugar. We'll add the sugar and then boil it for 10 minutes, and then we'll do the next step. Okay, now I'm going to add the sugar to the pepper mixture and bring it to a boil. So the next step is to add the liquid pectin. So I have that here. I'm just going to pour it in here really quickly and give it a good stir and cook it for 1 minute. And my jars are already in the simmering water, so I'm just going to go ahead and fill the jars and then put the lids and the rings on and get them in the water boiler. So the recipe calls for filling the jar to a 1/4 inch headspace, and that is basically the air space between the top of the jelly and where the lid will go on. If we put the bubbler right here on top, we can see that I am just about at a 1/4 inch, so that's good. And it's important to clean off the top of the jars because oftentimes the jelly is sort of sticky and it'll keep the lids from adhering during the processing time. So I'm going to go ahead, I've already washed the lids, and I'm going to go ahead and put the ring on and just to finger tight. One thing I forgot to do in the first jar, and I'll have to redo it, is that once you measure your headspace, you might find that there are still bubbles in here. So you're supposed to move the jar bubbler end around the jar, releasing any bubbles, and that might actually reduce the height of your jelly, which I can see it did lower it there. So I want to put a little bit more in. Measure it. Yep, that's a 1/4 inch. Okay, so all 6 jars are now filled, and we're going to go ahead and put them into the boiling water canner and process for 10 minutes. So now that I've removed the lid from the canner, I'm going to wait 5 minutes before I take them out. In the meantime, I thought I would go ahead and give a little taste of what was left over that didn't get into the canner and just let you know what I think. It's really sweet, as you would assume 5 cups of sugar would be. I can't say I really feel that the pepper flavor is coming out very strong in this particular jelly, but it might be different once it's been cooled off and maybe applied onto a cracker during like an appetizer, maybe a cracker with some cream cheese. I mentioned the jalapeno powder earlier in the video, and this is a lot of jalapenos that were dehydrated on a dehydrator. If you're interested in a video on how to make the jalapeno powder, I'd be happy to do a video on that dehydration process and to show you how it's done. So just leave me a message in the comment section. So now that 5 minutes has passed, I'm going to go ahead and take the jars out of the water canner. Just going to lift them up and put them onto a surface that has a towel on it so that they can cool off for 12 to 24 hours. So tomorrow what I'll do is go ahead and take off the lids, check the seal, make sure they've all sealed correctly. And then if the seals are all adequate and the lid doesn't come off, then I'm going to go ahead and label them and put them on the shelf. I will see you tomorrow. Hi again. So it's been about 24 hours since I finished with the water bath canning portion of the recipe, and my green pepper jellies are here and all of the seals were firm, so I'm feeling pretty comfortable that these will be shelf stable. I did notice that they were still pretty liquefied, and it's possible that the liquid pectin could take up to 2 weeks to set. So I'm not going to open one up for our example today, but I did put the jelly that was in the leftover portion into the refrigerator, and that seemed to firm it up a little bit. So I went ahead and put it on a cracker, and my thoughts are that the sweetness that I tasted yesterday has somewhat mellowed, and the pepper portion of it has really been brought up. So I went ahead and tasted that, and it was pretty good. So I would recommend, if you're going to do this, make the pepper recipe as, or the jelly recipe as recommended, and then supplement it with a saltier cracker, such as a Ritz cracker, and then put some cream cheese on there as well. I went ahead and opened up, or brought out, my cowboy candy, which is a candied jalapeno, and put that on the cracker as well. And I thought it was a pretty good complement to it. So this was something that I will probably use in the future when I have folks over for a dinner appetizer, or perhaps just over the weekend. Roxy, you want to try the pepper? Here you go. Hey, what's this? Oh, is that good? Well, that went down fast. Well, she's a Labrador, so she eats everything, but if she likes it, I'm sure you'll like it too. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.